We'll slowly begin to get started. I'm Professor Green, and I think you should feel very fortunate for being in this section. I have two sections of this course, and if you noted that the second section starts right after this, and a lot of people wanted to be in this section but didn't make it. So kudos to all of you for making it into this time slot. It wasn't so easy to do that. Good, we'll be talking to this semester about business ethics and sustainability. I'm going to have the syllabus coming in a couple of minutes. The admin's going to have a printed out version for you. For this first class, we're going to split the time. We're going to work probably the time here in the classroom, and then we'll go outside so we can take off our masks and begin to get to know each other. So just to start, when the syllabi come in, there's going to be the last page. Did anybody print the syllabus already? No. Okay, great. So you did already. Yeah. So you'll see that the last page of the syllabus will be a name tent. So you're going to rip off the last page and create a name tent for yourself, and then that'll allow me to get to know your names a little bit easier. And what we're going to do, as I mentioned in the first half, is stay in the classroom because I'm going to review the first 3 pages of the syllabus to get you a little familiar with who I am and what we're expected to do in this course. And then the second half, as I mentioned, we'll go outside and we'll do this somewhat of an icebreaker that we're going to do a little learning objective exercise where you're going to opportunity to share something about yourself, and you're going to begin to relate to the course material. So let's hop into the syllabus, and I'll show you a little bit what we're going to be doing this semester. I also have, besides the syllabus, I also have have Brightspace open. So the idea is that Brightspace and the syllabus for me should be the same, right? They should be a mirror of the two, right? I don't know how it works in the other classes, but I'm a big fan of Brightspace. I have a background in technology, and so in theory, you should be able to just pretty much rely on Brightspace, but I like to have the syllabus as a backup. And you'll notice that the syllabus here is a Google Doc, and it is somewhat flexible. The main ideas in the syllabus will remain the same, but once we get to the class schedule, obviously you all have been here for 3 years, so you know that things slightly adjust as we go through the semester, right? Okay, good. Everybody here not a senior. Somebody's a 4th-year student, right? Are you a junior? Okay, great. Okay, super. Good to know. Thank you. And you're a junior too? Okay, good. Okay, super. Good, because that's why the most important thing that you want to know about this class is that it's a capstone class, right? And so it brings together now all of your first 2 or 3 years of your experience here at LMU, right? You don't have many classes like this, right? Some of you are focused in accounting, some of you are in marketing, and you've kind of gone in your separate ways. But now we're coming back together to really bring all of your studies together. And so that's why this class can be sometimes a little bit challenging, I'd say, for some students, is because we're thinking a little bit differently. We're thinking bigger picture, we're thinking about ethics, we're thinking about decision making. And in our normal business classes, these are topics that don't necessarily always come up. So let's go ahead and hop into it, and you can get a feel for what I'm talking about. So, so as I mentioned, I have 2 sections of this class. I think there are a total of like 6 sections, 4 sections, 6 sections. And so I teach you guys from 2 to 3:30, and then I teach the second section from 4 to 5:30. If for any reason you can't make this section, feel free to come to the 4 o'clock class. There are only about 15 students in that class. It's 4 credits, as you know, it's in person. I will go through my my background probably tomorrow. I'll give you a little bit more information, but as you can see, I have an MBA, a master's in business, and then I also have a master's in organizational communications. So it's a master's of arts. I went to the Thunderbird School for International Business, and then I went to Pepperdine for my MA. But there's a lot more that has happened between then. I've worked for about 15 or 20 years, and but I'll go through that tomorrow, as I mentioned. My email, that's the best way to really get in contact with me. I guess I haven't put my phone number up there yet, but it's definitely on Brightspace. Feel free to call me or text me. But also email is the best way. I have an iPhone. I also have a toddler at home. He's a lion himself, actually. He goes to the LMU preschool. And so if you don't hear from me for an hour or so, that's probably why I'm putting him down for a nap or whatever it might be. But I usually get back to email. That's probably one of my biggest strengths within an hour or two. Great. I don't have any office hours just because I feel like with this whole COVID switch, we've really relied on Zoom. We relied on email, etc. So I'm always available. If you need to connect with me, thank you so much, Diane. So if you need to connect with me for office hours, just reach out to me and we will set up a time for sure. I'm going to go ahead and pass out the little guy. And as I mentioned, the last page is a blank page. So go ahead and rip off the last page. And rip off the last page. And then you'll see that there are 2 places to fold the page. There should be enough top pieces to just kind of behind you. Okay, good. So just go ahead and rip off the last page. And then you'll see that it says fold here and fold here. So just fold it twice. You need more? Okay, good. So yours should look like this, right? And you just have to put your first name. You don't have to put your last name. It should be folding it twice like this, and then it's also on the back, right? So that people in front of you and the people behind you can know your name. And you're going to bring this with you to class every week. Can you hold it? Okay, super. I know the classroom's not set up perfectly for that, but and if anybody comes in late, if you could just help your neighbor, like if someone comes late, if you could just catch them up to go to the television. Oh yeah, that works, Amanda. Perfect. Yeah. And if it's not working, or if you need to, there's no copyright on these name tags. So if next class you want to come up with another version of your name tag, that's fine too. But that's the idea, is that I just want to be able to put some faces with your name. Good. Thank you, guys. Okay, awesome. And so as a reminder, bring these name tags with you to each class. So, so we can get to know each other. And I think most of you know each other already, right? For the most part, sort of, kind of, not really, kind of divided at the stage. Okay, okay, good to know. Thank you. Okay, good. So you'll also see that I put up the synchronous Zoom class Zoom link in Brightspace. So the idea is now that we're back on campus, we want everybody to come to class, right? That's the hope and the dream. And I do exercises in class that make it really valuable for you to be in class. But there's a reality, right? That people are going to potentially get sick. There's going to be student athletes, etc. So I'm still going to record each class, and I will have Zoom going at the same time. So I have Zoom going now. So if there are any students that are missing class today, for example, they can then watch the Zoom recording. I also set up those Zoom links because we will have a class almost at the midterm where we have a guest speaker, and then I have both sections meeting at the same time. So, so like we'll meet instead of at 2 o'clock, we'll meet like 3 to 4:30 or something like that, and there'll be one Zoom link, and we won't come to class, but we're all going to Zoom in because my guest speaker is in Dublin, right? And so he'll be Zooming in, obviously, and I want him to all see all of your faces. So hopefully everyone comes to class, but just so you know, my goal, my idea is that I will continue to Zoom the classes and record them. If you guys have any questions as I go along, feel free to just raise your hand and ask. Okay, great, good. All right, come in and grab a seat. There are 2 or 3 required texts. Has anybody gone to the bookstore or bought their textbooks yet? You can just raise your hand. You have, okay, great, okay, good. Any problems getting your textbooks? No, okay, great, super, okay, good. So there's a traditional textbook, Business and Society, and then there is this book, Ishmael. It's a novel. You know, it's small. It's only about this thick. And you'll be reading that pretty quickly here over the next couple of weeks, right? Over the next like 3 or 4 weeks. So if you haven't gotten your books, I highly recommend getting them ASAP. Yeah, because even starting next week, we'll be doing chapter 1 out of the traditional textbook. If you have any problems getting your textbook, let me know. And the third required textbook is just a link here to the University of Santa Clara. Good, and then there's some ebook purchase instructions, et cetera, et cetera. If you have any problems getting your textbook you can get it, as I said, from the bookstore or from Amazon or from these links. There's some course prerequisites. Obviously, you're all here because you've met those. Course flags and core fulfilled. So this is an ethics and justice core, right? I'll be talking a lot about ethics, a lot about decision making. As I said, we're going to kind of switch our brains. Less about accounting, less about marketing, but more about bigger picture decisions. And this is also a writing skills flag. So I believe you take 2 writing skills flags, right? Exactly. And this is all of you. This is your second, right? Okay, great. Okay, super. Thank you. So I'm super excited because when I'm not here teaching ethics, I also teach public speaking, and obviously there's a lot of writing that goes into writing speeches and things like that. And I have a degree in communications, obviously. So this is a really nice opportunity for me and you to really perfect, let's say, your writing, because now you're graduating and we don't want you going out into the workforce without good writing skills, right? We want to have a good reputation for LMU, and we want to make sure that you're clear and concise and your ideas flow in a logical way. So all of the professors are sticklers on this writing piece, but I'd say me in particular, because I just find it so important that people communicate clearly in their writing. Obviously, you've all been on Brightspace before, right? So I won't go through that. The course description, I'll read that real quick. The business ethics and sustainability focus on the interaction and importance of social, political, economic, and environmental forces in business and society. Using the framework of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, that's a key word for this course. Students will study the moral responsibility of business for societal and environmental impacts. Emphasis is placed on applying ethical decision models, as I've already spoken about, right? Decision models to a variety of stakeholder issues, which will include a substantial investigation into the underlying normative ethical theories and socio-political factors that impact businesses' broader responsibilities. Right? Coursework is designed to improve the ability of students to work collaboratively in teams and communicate effectively in business situations. So a lot of big words, but this learning objective exercise is going to really take that home for you guys. We're going to do that, as I mentioned, at the second half of this class today. So we're all going to take this course description and really make it your own. Questions so far? Okay, great. Okay, good. So then let's hop into the learning outcomes. So I'm going to go through each of these because what this exercise is going to be is that I'm going to pair you up and you're going to talk to your partner about one of these outcomes and how you are prepared for this course using these outcomes. So for example, the first one is students will be able to explain the interaction and importance of social, political, economic, and environmental forces within and upon business and society. So you are all prepared for this course for that one learning objective because you have all studied business. So you could tell your partner, I'm Joe or whatever, and I am prepared for this course because I have studied business. That would be a good answer. And then your partner is going to introduce you to the rest of the class, right? So you probably have done this exercise before, right? That you talk to your partner about something and then that partner introduces you to the class. But as we go through the learning objectives here, you'll see that not only do you have a business degree, but you've come to the table now for this course with a lot of other experience, right? And so the next learning objective says students will be able to identify and resolve ethical dilemmas in business situations. Right? So who has had an internship so far in their experience? Okay, great. Okay, good. And you don't have to tell us yet, but has anybody had an ethical dilemma in your internship experience? Yeah, Joe? Okay. Okay, great, Brandon. Okay, super. So that's something that you could tell your partner about. And then they will explain that in 30 seconds or so, explain that ethical dilemma, right? So for me personally, right, I worked for a long time for large banks implementing software, and I worked in Zurich in Switzerland. And part of my job was to look after the laptops. So I worked for Credit Suisse, and we had 50,000 laptops that had gone unidentified on the network. So they were lost. So my job was to go in and find these laptops. So I spent 2 years on a team finding these 50,000 laptops around the world, mostly in Switzerland. But I could have just, or the management could have just looked the other way and said, you know, we're just going to forget about these 50,000 laptops. But that would not have been the ethical decision, right? Because those 50,000 laptops create a lot of vulnerability for this large bank, right? If somebody wants to hack into the bank, steal money, et cetera, potentially they could grab one of those laptops, log in, and create a lot of damage. So that's why they spend all this money paying me and lots of people to go out and find those laptops, right? So that's an example of an ethical decision, right? So it might have happened in your internship, it might have happened in a job, maybe you're a lifeguard, et cetera. But that is the core of this class, right? Thinking about these business scenarios and all of these different ethical dilemmas that come up and how we make decisions when these dilemmas come up. Okay, good, but there's some more learning outcomes. So if you haven't had that opportunity yet to make an ethical decision, you have more opportunity to introduce yourself to the class. So the next one is demonstrate critical thinking skills by defining, modeling, analyzing, and evaluating complex business problems. Again, maybe in one of your courses, you did some critical thinking, maybe in your internship, right? I was also a business analyst. I worked for Citibank for a long time, a lot of Excel spreadsheets, right? So I've done a lot of critical thinking in my time. The next one is students will be able to integrate core concepts from different disciplines and apply them to a business situation. And so this course will also dive a little bit into your particular discipline, right? So some of you are marketing majors, some of you are accounting majors. So your introduction might be, I'm a marketing major, and so I'm excited to dive into ethical decisions based in the marketing field. The next one is students will understand the major ethical theories, virtue ethics, utilitarianism, deontology, natural law, various theories of justice, and so forth. and understand the difference among them by investigating the ultimate grounds of their validity. So has anybody taken an ethics course before? Probably not, but I thought maybe some of you have transferred in from liberal arts. Have you guys? Yeah? Or, did you take the 1 unit? Okay, that's true, right? Did all of you take the 1 unit? Okay, some did, some didn't. Okay, right. So yeah, so that might be how that's prepared you for this course. Totally. Okay, great. Students will value the importance of striving to be virtuous, ethical, and just, as well as the importance of rational reflection and engaged discourse with diverse perspectives in such striving. So this ties back to the Jesuit, a good portion of it, not all of it, but the Jesuit and the Augustine, St. Ignatius tie-in from LMU. So if you've been active with campus ministry, if you go to church actively, if you, like me, I teach yoga as a hobby, right? So I do a lot of meditation, a lot of reflection, a little bit of prayer, right? And so that, again, equips you to take this class. And I'll be talking a lot about reflection. So that's besides, or I should say as a sub piece of the writing skills, is you're going to have 3 assignments that are simply an opportunity for you to reflect on your thoughts and on your ideas. So we're not grading you on the facts and the figures, but we're encouraging you to take time to reflect on where you are in the stage of your life, where you are with some decisions, where you are with ethics, etc. So, so this one, if you decide to introduce yourself using this bullet point, it might be because, as I said, you're involved in campus ministry, you go to church, you practice yoga, you're Buddhist, whatever it might be. Okay, good. Where are we? So here, students will understand and make recommendations to address business decision-making problems based on concepts of service of faith and promotion of justice and works of justice. So this goes even further. Maybe you volunteered with a different Catholic institution or any type of institution. So this is all about service of faith, or maybe you've gotten involved in the last year, right, in the Black Lives Matter promotions and things like that. So works of justice, hopefully that should all sound familiar, right? After 3 years at LMU, I assume you know a little bit about what that means. Okay, students will understand business's impact on the natural environment, learn to view the natural environment as an important business stakeholder with rights of its own, and to understand business's responsibility to the natural environment, as well as understand strategies for reducing corporate environmental impact. So if any of you have gotten involved with Greenpeace or Save the Bay or cleaning up the beach, that also creates opportunity for you to be prepared for this course. Okay. Last 2, students will communicate effectively on business topics in written and oral form. So if you took an English class, all of you took an English class, I assume, right? Freshman year. Okay, great. Yeah, okay, good. So that would prepare you for this class. Even more, maybe you were on the debate team. So that's another opportunity. So anything that you were writing or delivered that would prepare you for this class. And then the last one, students will demonstrate effective interpersonal skills in teamwork settings, right? So maybe you worked on a group project, right? Here at LMU, most likely. Obviously, that could be another way that you've been prepared for this course. But even more so, when I graduated undergrad, I went to Villanova, by the way. We're not Jesuits, so we're Augustinians. And I was very involved in campus ministry, and I was also involved in the Greek system too, right? And so my project management or my interpersonal skills, I always believe that they were honed in undergrad, you know, in the Greek system primarily. I wasn't super involved, but enough that I really learned to work well with other people in team settings, etc. If you go to graduate school, that's also a great opportunity to work on those skills. But leaving undergrad, any of those extracurricular activities, they have all most likely prepared you for this course. So hopefully that gives you some ideas to think about. As I said, we're going to pair up in a couple of minutes, and we're going to go outside and spend the rest of the time introducing ourselves to each other. I did want to quickly show you Brightspace so that doesn't look strange to you. So here you are, right? Business ethics and sustainability, how I've organized Brightspace, because I know every professor does just a little bit differently, is I simply have put every class in its own module here on the left-hand side. You know, the syllabus is the first one, obviously. This is where you can go and get an electronic version. There's a class reflection schedule. I'll talk about that next class. And some links to the things. These are all in the syllabus already, but they're quick links here. If you scroll down for the syllabus, you'll see that there are 3 links here. Let's see if I can open this up easily. I have recorded myself speaking to the syllabus.
Professor Green, and today I'm going to be reviewing the
So this is me,
business ethics
and I walk you through the syllabus letter by letter. And I have 3 videos. I broke it down, as I mentioned, into 3 different videos, because for these next 2 classes, we're going to go through the syllabus, but not from A to Z, right? It just takes too much time. There's a lot of information in there you already know, etc. But I highly recommend that if you're cooking or biking or whatever, listen to these videos, and then you will know the full A to Z, what the syllabus includes. And I will do that also for each chapter in the book. So like for example, if you go now to the next module, class 1, introduction, is it here? Okay, these are still introductions, but let's see. Here we go, chapter 1. It's not until class 4. But you'll see that here I have some documents, a case study that we're going to review. But again, I have videos of Professor Green reviewing chapter 1. So again, that's my idea, is that I'm not going to go through from A to Z each of the chapters, the syllabus, etc., because it takes all the time and it gets boring right after a while. So I expect you to be reading the chapter or reading whatever the material is, and I highly recommend that you watch the videos. It depends on how you learn; it's up to you. But as I mentioned, I take you through the chapter from A to Z, and then when we meet, to make it more exciting, what we do is we go through a case. So like chapter 1, we go through a case from Uber. And we spend the whole time dissecting the case. We do group work, we do reflections, etc. So that's the goal of this class. Questions on any of that so far? Okay, great. So, oh yeah, so just to finish up, here's Brightspace. As I said, each module is another class, class 5, class 6, etc., all the way to the end. There's a study guide for the midterm, a final exam study guide, and then here are the Zoom links. As I mentioned, for anybody who came in late, I mentioned I will Zoom each class, I will record each class, but the idea is that you all come to class still. Good. Questions on Brightspace? Okay, good. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to pair you up, and then you and your partner are we're gonna walk outside, and I'm hoping that we can sit on the back piece of the amphitheater, and then I think that we'll spend, because we have an hour left or so, we'll spend about 35 minutes interviewing each other, and then we'll spend the last 30 minutes introducing each other. We won't necessarily get to everybody today. So for anybody that we don't get to today, we'll finish up on Wednesday. So I'm just going to simply, you guys are going to go, Joe, exactly. You guys can go together. Olivia, you can go with Alex. Cameron, you can go with your neighbor here. Good. Emily and Gabby, Brandon and Ray. Kojo, you can go with Grayson. Bridget, you can go with Sean. Max and Roman. Okay, perfect. Good. Ahil, you guys can go together, right? Okay, super. Good. And then you can go, and actually you guys can do it three together. Okay, good. So let's go ahead and head outside, and then we'll start. Yep. Great. Okay. Great, good. So another thing that I wanted to point out was that I'm not sure other professors have noted it already, but we need to do seating charts this semester. So, in this instance that somebody gets sick, then there'll be contact tracing. So I won't do the seating chart today because we're all here, but come in on Wednesday and choose a seat that you'd like to have for the whole semester. And then obviously every class you come back, choose that same seat. I will write down on Wednesday where the seat all sit. Any questions about that? Okay, great, excellent. So I thought that I would take you through my resume because this is where you're all headed, right? I'm about 20, 25 years older than you all. And so in about 20, 25 years, you will all have a resume that looks just like mine, pretty much. Right, so I wanted to kind of bring it together for you as to like why you're taking this course, right? Well, how does this all pertain to your experience now for the next few decades? So, and I've mentioned a couple of things already, but as I mentioned, I do have an MBA in international business from the Thunderbird School of Global Management, where the school is based in Phoenix, but I started my studies in Geneva, and it's a unique niche school, but if you're interested in international business, I'm happy to speak to you about it. As I mentioned, also, I went to Pepperdine for a second master's. I graduated with my MBA in project management and consulting, and then I really wanted to focus in communications and organizational communications. So I finished that here just in 2017. And my undergraduate degree is actually in civil engineering from Villanova, as I mentioned. So I have that Jesuit or that Catholic school background. And I'm really happy to be back teaching at LMU. We are kind of a Catholic institution. I'll tell you a little bit more about where I've been teaching before LMU, but I'm happy to be back. And I hit that environmental science right, because I had a major in, it was actually civil and environmental engineering. Good, so obviously you won't have an engineering degree, but you will most likely, many of you will go on to graduate school, right? So that's where that takes you. I have some fun little certifications, right, to teach online. And as you see here, I'm certified as a 200-hour experienced yoga teacher. That is, I guess, my hobby now for a couple of years. As you'll see here, as I get down into it, I've spent a handful of years doing this consulting, implementing yoga and mindfulness programs in large organizations throughout Los Angeles. So let me go back, start from the most recent and move backwards. So a handful of years ago, I started to teach at Compton College, and that hits not only, I teach a lot of public speaking there, so the written and the oral, but Compton is a special place, right? As you know, Compton is one of the poorest neighborhoods in all of America. And so to teach there really hits that social justice piece, right? So really exciting and really a great opportunity. Yes, they paid me, but minimally, and a really nice way to give back and to contribute to those types of neighborhoods that don't even have opportunities to go to four-year schools initially. At the same time that I was teaching at Compton, I've also been teaching at Pepperdine, my alma mater. I teach both public speaking, and because I was an organizational communications major, I teach in the human resources area. So I teach organizational behavior in the business school. Before I did that, I was a graduate assistant at Pepperdine in the communications department. And then for a handful of years, I did this Ingrid Green Consulting. And I expand on that down here. So this IT consulting, I had probably about 15 clients over this from 2005 to the present. And as I've mentioned, some of those clients were a bit large banks like Credit Suisse when I was in Zurich, and also Salesforce.com. A lot of you, has anybody worked with Salesforce.com already? No. Okay, Salesforce.com is the leading customer relationship management software, and I'd say probably 90% of you will work with Salesforce after graduation because it's a way to track clients and track leads and track any type of information that you have about a prospective client. And so I spent a lot of time doing this implementation of Salesforce and lots of different softwares in mostly the banking industry, but also in healthcare. So I was at Kaiser Permanente for a long time. And these clients, you can barely see the icons, but those were my wellness clients. I'm the director of the, as I mentioned, the Yoga and Mindfulness program at the Wonderful Company. Has anybody heard of the Wonderful Company before in Los Angeles? The Wonderful Company is the holding company for Fiji Water, Wonderful, Justin Wine. They have about 13 different brands and 800 employees here in Los Angeles. And so I manage a team of yoga teachers and mindfulness teachers who actually teach the yoga and mindfulness classes. But I work with the business side and I set the strategy for those types of programs. And I work with human resources and wellness to make sure that those programs are executed properly. And so why that's so relevant in this course is because the last portion of this course is all about making sure that our employees, that people that we manage, because all of you will be managers at some stage, that all of the people that you manage are looked at as a whole person, right? And that's a tie-in again with LMU. So the trend now is for organizations to really look at employees as not just somebody who works for them, but somebody who has interests and needs to contribute to the organization, but they also need to get something back. And so the last, as I said, the last stage of this course will be a lot about interviewing leaders, figuring out how you as a leader can now help your employees really feel their best in their working organization, in their organization, in their role. And so that's what I do for the Wonderful Company, right? And that's a lot of where my passion lies, is making sure that employees feel heard, right? And that employees feel that they're getting all of their needs met, and not just contributing to the bottom line, but that they have opportunities to take yoga classes or mindfulness classes or get childcare if they need to, etc. So that will be the last portion of this course for you guys. So anyway, so just jumping back to that timeline, I'm going to make sure I didn't miss anything. Before I did my own consulting company, as I mentioned, I worked for Citibank for a long time in New York on Wall Street. I got recruited out of business school for a management associate program where I worked in technology and engineering, implementing large softwares for Citi. And then before business school, I was with Park Construction. So I was a project engineer working on different job sites throughout California and Washington, DC. So yeah, and I've presented at a bunch of different academic conferences. And those are kind of the details as I walked you through. Any questions about my resume or any questions about how this course leads you to your next steps or how you got here? How it all comes together? Okay, great. And so as you know, most of you that half of your professors are adjunct professors. So, and then half of us are adjuncts where we work part-time and we teach part-time. And then half of your professors are full-time professors, right? And so there's benefit to having people in the classroom who have had a lot of work experience. Okay, great. So what did I want to do next? So let's go ahead and jump into Brightspace, because pretty quickly you'll have to be familiar with what this looks like. Let's go over this class reflection schedule. So you don't have to open up Brightspace. I can just show it to you here, but you're going to go ahead and when you get home, you're going to open up this schedule and that you're going to sign up for one of these dates. Okay, great. Some students have already signed up. What I've done is I've identified each of the dates for each of our core classes to the end of the semester. And you're going to present on one of those days. And it's going to be a 3-minute reflection. And you're going to come and you're going to present us with a video for a minute, or you're going to do a meditation, or you're going to speak about your volunteer experience, some type of reflection that helps to ground the class, but also to give us an opportunity to reflect on something that's bigger and better. This Google Doc is editable, and so you will all be able to go in there and choose a date. You'll see that because we have 30 students and we only have 27 classes. So if you end up in one of these time slots, you can just choose one of those dates and we'll have 2 students present on a particular day. That makes sense? Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, good. And as I said, it's really 3 minutes for you just to speak to the class, to start the class. Every class, we will do this exercise. On Wednesday, I will do it for 3 minutes. I'll lead a little meditation of some sort. And then starting next week, Emily will be our first person to do that. Question on what that reflection needs to look like. Okay. And as I mentioned, there are 3 reflection assignments in this course. So you're going to hear that word a lot. I don't want you to get confused. This is the first reflection exercise. Okay, good. And then, so now in class 1, that's signed in the sheet, that's the same link. But here in class 2, so next week, we're off on next Monday because it's Labor Day. But when we come back on Wednesday, we'll sit here for an hour and a half and we'll talk about frameworks and a bunch of different things. But for the last few minutes of class, I'm going to give you 90 seconds or so to do a reflection. And this comes up almost every class. So if you click on this, let's see if I can open it in a news tab. This is a discussion forum. And it says, tell the class your top key takeaway reflection from the last 2 classes. And then you're going to comment on 3 student posts. Right. So I think everybody's familiar with what a discussion forum is, right? And so we do this for almost every week. And so it gives you, again, an opportunity to reflect on what you're learning in class. And it also gives you an idea as what the other students in the class are thinking about and talking about. Right? And it's only 90 seconds. So as I said, at the end of each class, or at the end of, it's on Mondays, I should say. So it's mostly on the end of Mondays, I will give you a few minutes. So if you have your laptop or any device that can pull up Brightspace, you will have a few minutes to enter your posts or do your comments. And I forgot what I was going to say. So it's an opportunity to reflect on that, and it really brings home, hopefully, the last 2 classes. Questions on what that discussion forum looks like?
So are we going to be doing that the week after on the Monday of the 2 previous classes?
Exactly. Yep. And go ahead and open up your syllabus. So open up the last 2 pages. So page 12. Okay, great. So page 12 is your tentative course schedule. And you'll see that it identifies quickly and clearly when you have that weekly reflection due. So we're actually going to start it on Wednesday, so 2 days from now. And then we're off on Monday. So then we start it then the following Monday. So I'll go ahead and bring that up here on the overhead so you can see that as well. But yeah, so it says exactly which days we're doing the weekly reflection. Exactly. And all those weekly reflections are on Brightspace. Good. So as I said, Brightspace in theory should mirror the syllabus. That's my goal. If for some reason you see a discrepancy or the timing doesn't look right, ask me, right? Because we're still in post-COVID world and we're still kind of hopping along between Zoom, non-Zoom, et cetera. So I've tried to adjust our course to accommodate in-person classes, but still use the tools that we've learned over the past year. Okay, good. And then you'll also see, so we'll stick to the syllabus here now just for a second. So you'll see, as I mentioned in class number 4, that we'll do chapter 1. That's what I mentioned. Chapter 1, you're going to read and you're going to hopefully watch my videos. And then we're going to come to class and we're going to discuss the Uber case, and we'll watch the videos short. So it's just like 3-4 minutes. So we'll watch that in class and then we'll discuss that. I'm also going to talk about some writing flag requirements and practices, etc. Then the next class, again, chapter 9, but we're going to talk about the sustainable development and global business. These are things from the United Nations. So here you have an extra discussion forum. I'm a big fan of discussion forums because this is a writing flag class too. So these discussion forums are like a warm-up for your actual papers. So besides doing your weekly reflection this day, we're going to do an extra discussion forum here, and it links to a video. It's actually an hour-long video. You have to watch the video, and same idea. You post your top 3 takeaways, and then you have to comment on 3 student posts. And then I put in here the dates, so I want you to do your initial post by Friday night. And then you have Saturday and Sunday to comment on other student posts. So everything's finished by Sunday night at midnight. And then I go in Monday morning and I grade it. Good. So this is kind of the logic that goes through. Then the next class, we're going to talk about writing in particular, introduction, conclusion, citing sources. You don't actually have any deliverables for that class. There's nothing that you need to come with. You can look at those links and stuff, but it's mostly going to be me talking to you about what I want for writing. But then the next class, chapter 3, again, you're gonna read and you're gonna watch the videos. They're all on Brightspace. And you're gonna do that weekly reflection. And then we hop into the ethics piece. Again, here there's another discussion forum here about relativism and absolutism. There are 4 big discussion forums, and then there are like 12 mini discussion forums on the weekly reflections. Good. And so I won't take you through all the different things, but here you can see we're going to have that guest speaker from Citigroup. He works in CSR and in ethics at Citigroup. And so we'll have a special time, and I have a special meeting ID in Zoom. And here already on 10/4, October 4th, you have your first paper due. This is the Ishmael paper. This is that small novel that I recommended you get ASAP, because within a month you have to write a 5-page paper on it. And again, I'll go through it in much further detail in further classes, but the premise is like really what are the complexities of trying to live in a leader culture is what they talk about. Once you start to read the book, that'll make a lot more sense. But it's 5 pages on your personal reflection. But I do need a thesis that I'll go over, etc. So I'd say start reading Ishmael pretty quick. You can get an audio book too. It takes 8 hours to listen to. It takes about the same to read. So good. And that's your first major deliverable, etc. Then we keep going. You have a midterm that'll be on chapters 1, 3, and 9. So the midterm and the final come just from the textbook. It's all online. The midterm and the final are on Brightspace. I set it up for like a 24-hour period. You have to log in. You have 2 chances. You're timed out after 60 minutes. It's open book, 40 questions. So it really encourages you to do the reading, right, and to watch the videos. Pretty straightforward, chapter 6, chapter 7. And now we're moving through our second biggest deliverable of the semester here, a detailed paper outline on this business ethics case. And so you're going to have 3 deliverables for that. You're going to have an outline, a rough draft, and then a final copy of the paper. And this is a 15-page paper, and there's research involved. So this is no longer a reflection on what you thought about some book about a gorilla. This business ethics paper is you're going to the library, you're looking up information, you're using material that we've spoken about in class already, etc. So why we have you do the outline first is because, again, it's a writing flag class, so we want to make sure that you clearly have identified your thesis. I have you do a preview statement. I want to make sure that all of your main bullet points and sub bullet points are clear and that you have 15 sources cited. So hopefully that should sound familiar, citing sources, right? Doing research and mentioning information that you've read about. Questions so far? Okay. So then we'll move through chapter 11, 13, 14, etc. The second half of the course is really focused on the book. The first half of the course is somewhat on the book, but more on the ethics on that Markula website from the Santa Clara University. I will go through. And so here we're getting towards the end of the course. You have another big discussion forum due in the middle of November. You'll see your rough draft is due. We have Thanksgiving, and then this, I'm not gonna lie to you, this is not my design. There's a course lead. So as I mentioned, there are like 6 sections or 8 sections of this course, right? And so I'm one of 4 professors who teach this course. And so my boss is a course lead. So he oversees all of this. And he designed this so that you have 2 projects due at the end of the semester. So just plan accordingly. Personally, I wouldn't have done it this way, but you have a group project and then you have an individual project. And so just know that once we get after Thanksgiving, you're going to have this Aim to Flourish project, which is you're going to be in teams of 3 or 4. But you're also going to have 2 weeks later your final business paper due. Why I did this is because your final business ethics paper is really just a redraft of your rough draft, right? And so you'll see when we go through the grading, I give a lot more points to your rough draft here that's due on the 15th. So, and then I give only a small few points actually for the final paper, right? So don't feel overwhelmed at the end of semester because you should hopefully have your rough draft pretty much done, and then you move into your final group project, and then you finish the semester. And I cancel class for the last one. I give you a working session to prepare for the final, and then the final is really just 3 chapters. Again, 40 questions on right space, multiple choice, and then we're done. So, questions on any of that? Okay, good. We have about 10 minutes left. Tell me, how has your experience been so far to be back on campus? Like, how have your other courses been? Has it been an easy adjustment? Has it been unclear from professors how they're doing in-room learning versus class Zoom learning, etc.? I want to hear from you guys a little bit. Good, bad, indifference. Anybody want to volunteer? Go ahead.
I think it's pretty good being back in the classroom, just a different learning experience, like you're able to grasp concepts a little bit easier.
Okay.
But I think just kind of like stuff.
Okay, great. Okay, good. So it's been good to be back. Okay, super. Okay, good. Was anybody disappointed to come back? Did they like the Zoom classroom and were happy to be home? No, nobody. Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear that you're happy to be back. That's excellent. I'm really good. At Pepperdine, I had some students that found part-time jobs at home. I got a student that was in Riverside. He worked at Chick-fil-A. And he was like, I'm so happy to be home. I can work part-time and still go to school, and I save on housing costs and things like that. So yeah, so he had a full year to take advantage of those opportunities. But yeah, I mean, I'm a product of the American college system, and I'm a big believer in there's so much learning and growth to be happening on campus. So, so that's good. Any bad experiences so far with anybody coming back to campus? Negative? Go ahead, Brandon.
Parking.
So
It is. Yeah, I was gonna say, because this is my first time parking on campus on a regular basis. It wasn't like this before. No?
No, it's always.
I think it's always been down, right? That's true. I don't know if you're coming on campus the first time at 2 o'clock, right? They're all, you know, the classes are in session. If you come first thing in the morning, it might be a little easier. Right, I know. I know, it's not fun. We have faculty classes, so I'm grateful for that. Okay, good. And as I mentioned, right, seating charts next time you come in. So find your seat if you're, you know, particular about where you sit all semester. Just find a seat that you're gonna like. Email me if you have any questions. I'll let you guys go a couple minutes early, and I will see you all on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks. All right, bye.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, brother.
Okay. Hi, Roman.
So with the rough draft being more than the final draft, I'm just kind of concerned about that kind of negates the point of a rough draft, which is like turn in something. Here's what I have so far, like it's not quite perfect, but if there's more points for it, then you must need that to be more perfect than the final draft.
That's a very good point. What happens is when you do your outline, I can pretty much see how your paper is going. So if you have a strong outline, you'll do very well in your rough draft.
Okay.
And also, as a professor, I always recommend to submit. So like if your outline comes back and it's not good,
Mhm.
we will revise it
Okay.
and make sure that it's perfect or as close as you want it to
Okay.
be.
Sounds
And
good.
then we can move forward. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay,
Thank you.
cool. Yeah, it's so nice to meet you. My stepfather's name is Roman. So when I
Really?
saw you on the syllabus, I was like, yeah, nice to meet you. Good. Good. Hi.
I know it's super like far in advance, but
Yeah.
on the 25th, I actually like to come. So is there any way for me to like turn in the outline early, like email it to you and then like turn everything in early?
Totally, exactly. All the submissions happen on Brightspace, and so that shouldn't be a problem. And then, as I said, I Zoom all the classes, so I don't know if you'll be able to Zoom in, but that would be preferable. And it's, yeah, and if not, you can watch the recording.
And then also I noticed that you were talking about your experience and use of you went to project management. That's something I'm actually really interested in too. So I
Okay.
don't know if it's possible we can like, get a coffee and kind of talk about that. Or
Totally.
really
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, what's your major here? Okay,
Great. Computer science and business together, like data analytics and everything.
okay, very cool. Okay, good. Yeah, that's a great opportunity to become a project manager. Is there a particular industry that you're interested in?
Not exactly. I'm just exploring kind of everything right now and trying to see what I can do. I've been trying to find internships, but it's been really hard, especially with COVID going on. But I want to try and get like my foot in the door to see what I want to do long term.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's great. You're only a junior, right?
Yeah.
So that's great. So you have some more time and things to figure out. Totally. Totally. Yeah. And how does that work? So you were able to sign up for this course because you had the prerequisites, I guess. and
Exactly.
It was your schedule and stuff. So you're like,
I was trying to study abroad actually last year, but I couldn't. So hopefully next semester. So I was trying to take all the courses a little bit earlier. So,
perfect. Okay.
for that.
Okay, good. Sounds like a really good strategy.
Thank
Okay,
you.
super. Okay, good. And I'll talk a lot about my project management experience in
Perfect.
class as well. So
Great.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay, definitely.
I know you
Yeah.
have another section, so.
Okay, that's all right. Yeah. All right. Nice to meet you. Great. Okay, see you Wednesday. Great.